Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we're back in War Thunder and it's time for another changelog. This is the server updates for the 8th of the 10th, 2018, and it seems to be all about aircraft. Aircraft aren't always forgotten. I know a lot of people like to talk about how the ground forces and, helicopters are the stuff that I'm mainly focused on, but just remember there are always a lot of bug fixes for every aspect of the game, not just ground vehicles. And I feel like a lot of people overlook, in the major updates, all the bug fixes and things like that, and also these minor updates such as this changelog. But anyway, let's get into it, and I'll give some thoughts and opinions on some of the aircraft and how they've been changed. The I-225, its focus shift with flaps fully extended has been recalculated. Landing with minimum fuel will now be easier. This mainly, for me, is not really a massive change, but it does help. One of the problems that I personally had while trying to land this thing was the fact that it would kind of nosedive hard into the ground that, if it just hit a certain speed, you'd be gliding along and then boof, head down. And with the I-225, this isn't really a big issue, because obviously the majority of the time you're flying and not landing, but it's still nice to have it fixed. There are other issues with the I-225 though, and I'm 2 modifications of fully upgrading it, so then I'll do my review on it. But the main issue with it is the fact that it faces a lot of 7.0 jets, and well, it doesn't do well against 7.0 jets because no real prop really does, because of just the playstyle differences. But yeah, overall, I've enjoyed flying it when I've faced other props. I just haven't enjoyed it facing other jets. So I feel like it's another argument for the good old wall between props and jets. The I-185, the inertia of the propulsion system, prop and engine, has been increased. Rudder deflection simulation has become more accurate, so deflection at high speed is now smoother. That is wonderful to hear. One of the problems that the I-185 has had for a long time, if you remember when it first came out, a lot of people called it a spaceship, a lot of people called it a UFO, because it would climb to the heavens. And it still pretty much does that, it still climbs very well, but the issue that it's had for a long time now is when it dives, its elevator and its rudder just seize up at speeds which are a lot lower than some of its enemies. So what would happen is you would get into this beautiful position, but you wouldn't be able to capitalize on it, because if you dive down, then your tail would lock up and there wasn't a lot you could do apart from maybe pull out. But at that point, you're not trying to get the guns on target, you're trying to save your plane. So with these changes, hopefully this will make the I-185 a bit more like what it was before. Hopefully this is also both the I-185s. It doesn't actually talk about which one it's talking about here, but I'm guessing it's for both of them. And I'm definitely going to give it a go, just to see if the issues are fixed when it comes to the dive. And with that said, if you haven't ground out the I-225, then the I-185s are the way to go, since you get that nice little bonus research from it. The HS-123A-1, the little bomber biplane, or the dive bomber biplane, the engine modes have been updated, thermodynamics, engine start and stop time, and landing gear shock absorber elasticity have been improved. Wonderful to hear. These just look like general changes to the little biplane. It's actually a really nice little aircraft, because if you play a bunch of, let's say, low-tier Germany and ground forces, bringing it in, it's very much an attacker in a sense. It has bombs to do damage to the ground, and also on top of it, it can fight in the air quite, decently. It is an okay plane. I prefer the float plane, the hydroplane of course, but, it is how it is. The TAR-152, the all modifications, propulsion system, prop and engine inertia, as well as its start and stop timings have been tuned. Rudder deflection simulation is now more accurate. Deflection at high speeds is now smoother. So once again, pretty much the same change as the I-185 got, and the TAR-152s are even bigger, badder monsters at that idea of climbing high and being able to dive down. Now, the problem with the TAR-152s is that they've always had quite a bad stock grind, so getting, those engine upgrades that you need have all been a bit of an issue. But with the, the changes to the spawn, being able to spawn in the air, this has helped it out a hell of a lot, and it's kind of nice to see more TAR-152s around. The old one, the the Longbird one. I believe it's called the H1, or the Long Wing one, sorry. I've always enjoyed flying, even before the changes. It has the same issue as a lot of the other aircraft, where it used to face a lot of jets, but it's still fun to do. It's got some nice 30s on it. The maneuverability of it was kind of insane, and with the addition, I believe, of the C3, is it, the clip, well, not clipped wing, but the shorter wing one, it was also fun to fly, so I'll be looking forward to flying them again. It's in a really nice bracket now as well, that little German bracket, where you pretty much just face around 4.7 to 5.3 of Allied planes. Really nice bracket to fight in. The G50, all modifications, rudder deflection simulation is now more accurate, engine start and stop times have been updated, and elevator surfaces and their deflection at different speeds have been redefined. Wonderful. So that's the G50 for the Italians. Hopefully it gets a little bit of a bump in performance, but the main issue with that is its guns anyway. It's not the flight characteristics were fine before. The only issue is you lost a lot of speed during a turn. But sometimes that helped you, especially against the lower tier enemies. But the main issue is the guns, and them not doing anything, and you not having a lot of ammo. I just want to make sure that I'm thinking of the right aircraft here, and not making a balls up, because I might be, you never know. Let's see. Yeah, I'm thinking of the right one. Yeah, the issue is the ammunition count and the guns you have. The C200, which is very similar to the G50, the inertia of the propulsion system, prop and engine, has been updated, rudder deflection simulation is now more accurate, engine start and stop times have been updated, and elevator surfaces and their deflection at different speeds have been redefined. Wonderful. That is basically the same stuff that we see on the G50. Once again, the main issues hold from the G50 on the C200. The C202, one of the planes that I personally would say is one of the best planes at 2.3, all modifications, inertia of the propulsion system, prop and engine have been updated, rudder deflection simulation is now more accurate, engine start and stop times have been updated, and elevator surfaces and their deflection at different speeds have been redefined. So once again, just changes to how the overall plane handles in the flight model. The 202 Folgore is, for me, going back to when it was only in the German tree, it is an insanely good plane, because the reason for this is it's got a good climb rate, it's got a good dive, it's got maneuverability after the dive, and it's got good turning as well. It's a great plane to help people learn how to play around that rank 3, rank 4 area, where you're going to come up against aircraft which are a lot faster. Your reactions are going to have to be a bit quicker, and energy is a lot more, well, there's more of it, I think, it's more of an actual thing. So with the 202, it's always been a great aircraft for helping people learn how to play that energy fighting style, how to manage your speed, because it's got a decent max speed on it, how to make your guns be effective, even though there's not a lot of them, not a lot of damage coming out of them. And it's all designed, for me, to be a great beginner plane. I see it very much like the BF-109 E1. The E1 has 4 7.7s on it, or at least 4 7mm of some kind, and it doesn't have a lot of stopping power, behind the guns, but the key to it, just like the Folgore, is trying to get guns on target. So if you are able to get guns on target, then you will be, served well as you go up the ranks. That's how I see it. The 205, the bigger brother, inertia of the propulsion system, prop and engine has been updated, rudder deflection simulation is now more accurate, engine start and stop times have been updated, and the elevator surfaces and their deflection at different speeds have been redefined. So exactly the same. 205 is a great aircraft. There aren't many Italian aircrafts I would actually say stay away from. The lower tier ones can be a little bit of a drab, the biplanes and the C200 and the G50. But once you get past them and you get into the proper job monoplanes with the MG151s or even the 12-7s, they're great. They're really, really good. The F4U4 and the 4B Inertia of the propulsion system, prop and engine has been updated. Rudder deflection simulation is now more accurate. Good stuff. The issue with the F4U4s is that they sit at a BR where it takes them too long to get up to speed. And this is the problem with the majority of the Corsairs. I think you can actually get away with it with the lower Corsair, the F4U1A, I believe it is, and also the USMC one, because you're able to carry a match quite easily at that level. At that BR. But at the higher BRs, where you find stuff like the F4U4, you're sat in a situation where enemies are faster, they're getting to you quicker, and if you're not in a position to fight them, like you would be in something like a P-47 or a P-51H, then what happens is your team gets creamed and you're kind of just left there by yourself still trying to get to altitude. It's just not really quick enough to get to altitude compared to some other planes. And this could be a meta issue, and I think it is. If people just waited, 2 or 3 minutes more in a realistic to let stuff like the F4U4s get up to altitude and then fight, then yes, they would be absolutely amazing. But unfortunately, that hasn't been the case for 5 years now. The F4U4B, so the second one, the speed has been increased by 16 kilometers an hour, and the outboard wing weapon mounts have been removed. So it loses a bit of secondary armament and gains a little bit of speed. Obviously, this will hit it in ground realistic, but in air realistic, this will be good for it. The majority of the time, you shouldn't take any secondary weapons on something like the F4U4B. It is a good machine. As I said, it just struggles with the meta that's going on right now. The Gladiator, of all things, all modifications. The engine's RPM when the throttle's set to 100% has been changed from 2,650 instead of 2,400. Okay, so it's getting a bit of a boost. The flight model's propeller width has been increased. The combat position for flaps has been removed. Damn you British. Propeller spin-up speed has been tuned. Rudder performance has been updated. And the tail fin angle has been changed to compensate propeller momentum, increased speed. Wonderful stuff. So overall, you got a bit more of a beefier engine. You have what hopefully is a little bit more maneuverability. But obviously we'll have to test that to find out. The main thing that is taken away from these poor Gladiators is the combat flaps. And this was a tool that you could use to outturn the majority of biplanes that you would face. Unfortunately, with that gone, well, you're going to have to pretty much, they still have landing flaps, right? So you could still pull the old landing flap maneuver, but you may lose a bit too much speed and fall out of the air. Overall, I really enjoy flying the Gladiators, even though I haven't done it in a long time. They have some really good armament behind them, and the premium one that you can get is wonderful. The SM-79 V Aero. Now that is not a name that you hear a lot. If you didn't know, if let's say you're new to War Thunder, the V Aeros were actually first in the German tree, and I believe there was 7 of them, and I believe I have all 7, and then 2 were taken out, and then the rest were taken out and put into the Italian tree. But the way that War Thunder works is if you research something, then you are personally able to keep them. So in the German tech tree, I have the majority of the lower tier Italian line, plus a few extras. I think I did a video looking at the V Aeros a while back, so maybe if you just type in, Italian bomber or something on my channel, you'll be able to find it. But anyway, the aerodynamic characteristics of the wings, fuselage and tail have been corrected, and the fin and flight polars have been tuned. The propulsion system performance has been reworked. The influence that the weight of different aircraft components have on the behavior of the aircraft has been recalculated, and fueling and combat loading will now be more accurately affect the mast center alignment. Thermodynamics have been updated. Cooling efficiency at flight speeds has been implemented. Nice. So overall, just positive changes for the V Aero overall, making it a bit more realistic. The issue with the V Aeros was that the majority of them have the 12.7 on the front, and this is, well, not the majority even, probably about half, I would say. The issue with the 12.7 is that it makes people go a bit cuckoo, thinking that they can become a fighter. And the V Aero in arcade, it can, become a fighter. In realistic, you can also do it, and you could pull some insane maneuvers while doing it. I remember back in the day when flying stuff like the V Aero and the Wellington, pulling loops and then being able to gun down the enemy as they tried to follow me. And if that has been corrected on the V Aero, that's great. The one thing that holds back the V Aero, though, is its bomb load. Its bomb load really isn't good enough, and its engines are pretty weak as well, and they're very susceptible to dying, and the V Aero, even on 2 engines, really struggles to stay in the air. So that is, the main issues with the V Aero and why you don't see many of them actually flying in the game. But overall, they are fun to fly. I wonder with these changes, maybe they're going to be a bit more bomber-like than instead of attacker-like, as I used to play them. But anyway, that is all of the changes. As you can see, these are all aircraft changes, which is lovely to see. And hopefully what I'm looking for in the future, as I've said in a few videos now, the fix to the BMP2s, the holder that holds the ATGM, you can't repair that, and sometimes it means you can't fire the ATGM, which is kind of annoying. I would also like to see some changes to World War mode. I mean, we did get some changes to World War mode, so I'll be looking at them over the next week or so, but it would be nice if they were a bit more publicized so we can get some more people into it. And also, of course, I'm really hoping to see the Royal Navy soon. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.